Fair use disclaimer. This video contains copyrighted material, the use of which has not always been specifically authorized by the copyright owner. I am making this content available for educational, entertainment, encouragement, and promotional uses only for the artist as well as the listener. Under the Fair Right Use Doctrine, Section 107 of the U.S. Copyright Act. Enjoy the sound check. Let's see if the flow is proven. DjRon, the classic DJ from the Bay. Enjoy. Hey, what's up, family? It's your boy, DjRon, the classic DJ from the Bay. That is the Bay Area of California. This right here is episode number 52 of Flow and Proof. Who would have thought I've made it this far, right? And this one is special because it marks the close of one chapter and the beginning of another. Just like the music is always moving and always evolving, we're flowing into something new, something classic. So starting on the next episode, the show you know and love will carry a new name, Classic Flow. Same energy, same soul, but deeper. We're going to be talking about the mix. We're going to be dealing with the culture, and it's all about the movement. You understand what I'm saying? This flow isn't just a sound. It's life. It's motion. It's the people moving together like water. So if you like to hear about the classic bars that's been broke down from classic artists, you know what I mean, and classic albums, you tuned into the right place. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. So speaking of classic artists, some of y'all may not know about these guys, but the ones that know. 5150, a group out of San Rafael, Marin County. I believe they're the only rap group that cut an album of substance. You understand what I'm saying? I'm going to say of substance because I don't know too many more of them. But, man, rappers Ryan D and then Tag. Then they had the producer Clark Gable, who was also tied into Digital Underground. And get this, though. Get this. A lot of people don't realize this, but this is one of the first groups that Tupac actually rapped with. You know what I mean? He's not on this album. As a matter of fact, you're going to find out in a minute what happened with that. And it's actually, you know what, that actually may make for a great another episode. You know what I mean? We're going to talk about a few that most people don't know about. Not a lot of people went after Tupac, but 5150, they did. There's a song about it when we get to that in just a moment, all right? But look, jumping into the album, the games people play, I think they had another album, but we're talking about classic albums, you know what I mean, with a classic flow. And this one definitely classically fits the bill. You know what I mean? If you never heard it, after this, it's my prayer. I implore you, I encourage you, go out, listen to it on YouTube, but get the plastic too, though. You know what I mean? Get the actual tape or the CD if you can. You know, I think Ryan D is still somewhere in that Marin jungle area. You know what I'm saying? And it's not as much of a jungle as it used to be, but I'm pretty sure, though, you know what I mean? Still some gorillas out there. You know what I mean? So shout out to the jungle. Here we go, y'all. Here we go. First song was the intro track that came in on here. Is just a beat that basically started out slow and sped up. If you was listening closely, you saw what was happening, and it took off. And it takes us to the next song that's on the album. It's called Jealous MFs. You know what I mean? And again, it was only like about 4 or 5 years ago that I realized that they actually was talking about Tupac on there. Matter of fact, it's a flip of the original beat when my homies call, and you know, it's just him responding and just, you know, just getting down on it. You know what I mean? And here's one of the notable lines. It's Ryan D on the solo, if I remember correctly. But he said, "Since I'm selling drugs, you think that you're the fortunate one." And think about it, when my homies called, he said, "You chose the dope game, I chose the rap game." You know what I mean? So Ryan D's rebuttal, that's what it was. You know what I mean? The end, it portrays Tupac as a loudmouth, jealous MF, hating on and talking about his homies. You know what I mean? The same homies from when my homies called. So make sure you go take a listen to that, all right? The next song on the album, though, is when we start to get a little deeper. You know what I mean? It's amazing because it takes a classic sample. I believe it's from Freddy's Dead, you know what I mean? And Criminals comes along, you know what I mean? Song called Criminals. Matter of fact, it's called They Made Me a Criminal. And so what they talk about is how, you know, just living and everything, they just saying the society, the area they was in, it corrupted them and made them criminals, you know what I mean? A criminal at large, a warrant for my arrest, you know what I mean? It's just, basically describing how they were living at that particular time. You know, the thing about it is that a lot of young brothers growing up in the Bay Area and other cities, of course, but speaking from the Bay because that's where I'm from and this is what I saw and this is what we gravitated to because it was telling our story in a form that we like to hear. You know, that's the way it went. You know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, they got a part when they get to the break beat. He said, hold up while Clark Gable drops the instrumental and thinking back in time how they made you a criminal.
Hold up while Clark Gable checks the instrumental. To think back in time how they made you a criminal.
And you know, it's just unfortunate that that's the way we grew up, you know what I'm saying? But most of us at that time, y'all know, when we step outside, there was a movie that was going on and we all wanted to have a part in it, you know what I mean? The money that was being made, the proceeds, the clothes that was worn, the cars that was driven and everything else, man, please, everybody wanted to be a part of that. Everybody wanted to be in what they seen, you know what I mean? Which takes us to the next song. And speaking of the next song, look, if you haven't peeped it already, or I'll just put it out there like this, a spoiler alert. The album moves like a movie, and it's basically just like Ice Cube used to rap about doing dirt and then end up dead or going to jail, you know what I'm saying? Because he used to end every verse like that. Now I'm dressed in the county blues, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. But the nuts, rated about 6 in the morning, trying to catch one on, you know what I mean? They gave me 57 years, you know what I mean? Whatever. That's your example. This album moves in the movie form as well, you know what I mean? They started off, you know, Get Started, the first track. Second track, talking about how he's selling drugs and everything and how, you know, he had people that was jealous of him and everything else, the envy, you know what I mean? And then it turned him into a criminal, you know what I mean? Made him even harder. You understand what I'm saying? But then this next song is the standout cut on the album. It's quite possibly the standout cut on the album, you know what I mean? If they never made a song, they made this song. From criminal to jail, you know what I mean? And it's amazing how he starts off the rap like,
I'm living in the ghetto, selling dope's the only thing I know. Penny any jobs never helped to buy a 5.0. I know I'm living wrong. Every day I pray the Lord to give me the strength and courage to take care of my wife and kids. I'm only 23, but I feel like 46. Try to be responsible, I gotta feed my kids.
I'm living in the ghetto, selling dope's the only thing I know. The penny any jobs never helped to buy a 5.0. Understand what I'm saying? Remember I told you about the scene that we would see when we go outside, and he said I'll try to get jobs and everything else, but it didn't make it. It didn't get me to where I wanted to be. You understand what I'm saying? So I like how he gets to how he's real with it, and again, a lot of young brothers could relate. You know what I mean? I wanted to grow up with my mother and my father. You know what I mean? A big and happy home, a mother and a father. I tried to go to school, but the streets say why bother? That's a deterrent for a lot of people. You know, a story has been told time after time after time of somebody who started out going to school, maybe getting good grades, good at football, baseball, basketball, but that quick money was right there. You understand what I'm saying? And then this is something he reflects on when he's in jail. He said, my mother used to tell me that what comes around, it goes around, and selling dope to brothers is bringing my own people down. You understand what I'm saying? What does he mean by his people? He talking about, again, the society he's around, the folks in his neighborhood and everything else. Always said that, you know, the drug dealer is doing worse. So you have a crack addict who is harming themselves, you know what I mean? Probably harming their family, you know what I mean? By taking the money that's supposed to be put into the house to pay the bills, to pay for food and all that kind of stuff, and getting high with it, you know what I mean? The money going up in smoke. Shout out Johnny Guitar Watson. You know what I'm saying? But not only that though, bringing them people down, like I said, for the crack addict, it's making, you know, it's putting the family in a position where they don't have no lights on in the house, stuff like that. As a drug dealer, to get time and go away, you can't do nothing for your kids when you're in jail. You know what I mean? So that was the first verse, though. Believe it or not, the first verse was so deep and so dope. And the thing about that is that it starts off as a collect call, and he's rapping this over the phone, telling the story about why he's in jail and everything else. And I think it was a precursor. A lot of y'all know Mac Dre, rapper from Vallejo, who's going to be featured on the show real soon. He's going to be featured on Classic Flow because, you know, he's one of the top four. And, you know, that Mount Rushmore for the Bay Area. Too Short, E40, Mac Dre, and Messy Moore. Who's your top four? Y'all holler back at me and let me know. You know what I mean? It's always good to comment. You know what I mean? Talk to me and I'll talk back. But Mac Dre had a situation where he's actually in jail. It could be the reason why Kyrie decided to record that boy over the phone and put it on the album, you know what I mean? And that's how we got Don't Stop and Back in the Hood and stuff like that, you know what I mean? But back to the song right here, the second verse, he's in there, he's locked up with his partner in Ron, and you know, he's like, man, Gabe on the phone, man, come bust a verse for him. And Tack comes through with just, you know, classic verse. The song itself is classic, but text verse is just dope too. You know what I mean? When he say stuff like, "It'll never happen to me. That's what I always said. Now I'm like down 50,000. That's my bail." To hear it is to understand that brothers got a lot of talent when they come to this rap thing, when it comes to rhyming. You understand what I'm saying? But the part that gets me, the part that really got me, he said,
Judge play me close, like I shot a cop, but I got caught with rocks, but the judge, this won't stop.
"The judge is playing me close, like I shot a cop, but I got caught with rocks, but the judge this," play on the word justice, "but the judge this just won't stop." Yeah, I'm imploring you. Games people play 5150. Go check it out for yourself. It'll bless you. If you got some subs in your car, you know what I mean, turn them up, let them slap, and yeah, that beat go crazy. All around, 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. Perfect song, like I said. The next one though, Back on the Block now. Remember, they was in jail. They went from being a criminal. They go to jail. Now they're back on the block. And he just saying, you know, back to the only life he know. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, a lot of people who went to jail back in those days, they get out thinking they got the game figured out, and they hit the block again. Like Pac said, you know what I mean? If we fell back, then it's back to the corners where we sell crack. You know what I mean? So he's back on the block, and he's doing stuff like hanging all night trying to prove a point. You know what I mean? Don't know why I did it, but I did it anyway. I guess it was the future for a black man in the modern days. You know, take it for what it's worth. But cool song, though. You know, it's a cool song. Definitely worth a listen. But then we get to the next song, which I alluded to before. Steady Stand Paid with that Rolls Royce beat. Now, I personally know the song Love Don't Live Here Anymore. Cool song, you know what I mean? The song's all about the singing, though. It wasn't about the instrumentation. Shout out Sin from Richmond, though. You know, they dropped their first tape, Criminal Image. It had Come and Go With Me, where they took the Teddy Pendergrass flip. The second song was actually Criminal Image, where it had the same music. 5150 comes back a couple of years later, dropped the same beat, but they added that boom boom to it, that 808 kick to it, where it was about the beat of it and the lyrics. You understand what I'm saying? And the way that they flowed on that thing was just next level. It's I can't explain it, but for that to be the next song on this masterpiece of an album, dealing with slow money, they in a situation where, you know, the money was slow and they selling dope, and they've gone to breaking and entering now. You know what I mean? Again, a dope slamming sample, but the rap style is what they incorporated within the echoing of the verses, like
Feeling like a bitch to stay in the game, hustling and striding. I was up and now I'm long came, money's coming slow, a little at a time. Nickels and dimes on the all night grind, ain't enough to survive. Every second counts just like cash. Times is getting critical, I better think fast. Corporation corrupt, that's where I'm heading. My best opportunity to catch a sucker slipping on the late night, something right.
I mean, it's just a lot like LL Cool J, Run DMC, like old school, you know, like a reverb or whatever, but Run DMC style where they finishing each other's sentences and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Great song. You know what I'm saying? I can't say it enough. And think about breaking and entering. The concept wasn't new; it was just reintroduced. You know what I'm saying? Because before crack, 211 was a regular thing. You know, ask Ice-T, ask Eazy-E. You know, 459s. That's the way people was getting money. So when the crack era came, a lot of people jumped on board because people was making a whole lot of money. You understand what I'm saying? Now we finna get to the next song. It's probably my favorite song. It's a toss-up out of Games People Play and this one right here. But Dorothy is a different type of a love, or should I say a like story. You know what I mean? It's the kind of story that even Prince would travel around the world and come back just to hear Ryan D's Sign of the Times. And with LL mixed in on the beginning, on that hook in the beginning, you know what I mean? And I believe throughout the song, once she gets pumping, it's hard to make the hottie stop. Shout out to producer Clark Gable, because he really did this where the whole song is a story. He puts it all together, you know what I mean? So Ryan D comes in.
Well, it was like, hey, baby, I think you look fly. I gather that you're single by the twinkle in your eye and by the look of your hips, your lips, and your thighs. Well, you're the type of girl that's putting a spell on guys.
You know what I mean? You so fine that dudes will do whatever they can to get with you. You understand what I'm saying? The next line, though, if I'm not mistaken, I can see your ring finger and it says you're not taking. I ain't gonna lie, I use that a few times myself, you know what I mean? But that's what we look at, though. Brothers, we're gonna check to see if that ring finger's there. And if it is, you know, the players ain't gonna stop, but you know what I mean? If it's not, then it's all, hey. it's whosoever will. You understand what I'm saying? So after he gets at her though, and he tell her, he gonna, you know what I'm saying, they're gonna get together later or whatnot. You know what I mean? The song, the hook, the breakbeat comes in with "Piece of My Love," and I think somebody's singing it because there's no way you can speed it up like that. But the guy is singing, "You can have a piece of my love." And it took me a little while to figure it out. You know what I mean? What he was saying on there, but again, dope production at its finest, right? So the second verse though, he's going on. You know what I mean? The second verse though, he takes her out and he takes her down. Understand what I'm saying? My mama used to say this though. She used to say this a long time ago, and by this time I started to figure it out a little bit. You know what I mean? If she give it up on the first night, she ain't about nothing. That's what he said. And he keeps his heart in it by confiding in his friend. You know what I mean? The next day he on the phone with his homeboy, and he tells him all about it. You know what I'm saying?
Hooked up with Gator. What's up, Ryan D? Check this, my brother. People having a mate. Things was getting freaky last night this time. Yo, I know you know the girl that had that big behind. Worked in the city at the late night spot. Just your average homie, this girl was not. Long, beautiful hair, eyes that made you weaken. I said you gotta know her. He said, yep, she be freaking. What you must be.
And telling about it, just imagine that, sharing the details, describing the lady you want, and then he tells you, yep, she be freaking. And it has receipts to show. Ryan D says he talked about 99 brothers in 15 states. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. And again, the production comes in and we get Jermaine Jackson this time. Don't take it personal. Easy come, easy go. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of times that's the philosophy though. You know what I mean? Real ones, y'all know. We understand that, she might not be what we thought she was, you know what I'm saying? But we gotta keep on keeping on. And Ryan D, he comes back and he reflects on it, you know what I'm saying? He said, I spent 24 hours thinking you were the one. You know what I'm saying? And I remember Jay-Z, he was prepped for it, you know what I mean? He was one that knew. And he got a song called I Know What Girls Like, where he goes up to her, he said, I've never seen a face like yours before, and I've been around some cute girls before, but me and my homie tore it up before, so I'm hoping you're different, you know what I mean? And after coming to grips with himself and the situation, basically he confronted her and she denied it, you know what I mean? She denied and lied about it, you know what I mean? And because he trusts his homeboy, who really didn't have no reason to lie. He trusts his homie over her, and that's sticking to the G code, you know what I'm saying? So he comes to the conclusion of keeping his player ways, but secretly wondering how a girl can still be down to be dirty every day of the week, not even concerned about being a freak. You know what I mean? And a lot of us, we wanted the same thing, you know what I mean? We think we found a good one, ready to lock it in, and then such is the case, you know what I'm saying? But listen to it for yourself, and the way they dropped that, he got the girl, the producer got the girl saying, why are you tripping in there? Classic. I mean, the mix is borderline genius, and it speaks again to the elite producer, right? So last song on there is Legally Insane. Basically just, talking and rapping and proving that, they sick in the mind, you know what I mean? And getting SSI checks and everything else, and just some of the stuff that the escapades that they're going about, what they're doing or whatnot. All in all, the album is a strong 9 out of 10, 10 mics. You know what I'm saying? Again, I tell you, if you're younger, never heard it before, it's definitely something to go back and listen to, get your routine together, because it's instrumentation that's dope. But not just the instrumentation, the lyrics is on point. You understand what I'm saying? And again, the way that thing is mastered and arranged and everything, top notch. Shout out to Clark Gable wherever he may be. So it's also a shout out to y'all. You've been rocking with DjRon-TheClassicDJ from the Bay. Closing out my final chapter as Flow Improve. And the next time that we meet, it'll be under a new name, Classic Flow, where we celebrate the mix, the culture, and the movement, because what's classic never fades. It just keeps on flowing. Stay tuned, stay grounded, and stay in the flow.
I represent the Yay area.